So, we have a question here about a dog called Luna. And she's a lovely, friendly 6-month-old puppy who's very gentle. However, she can get very excited and she can start nipping people and biting people. They try not to get her to this excitement level, but when she is that excited, they can't do anything to get her calm unless they put her in a playpen. Is there any suggestions of how they can keep her calm?
Yes, okay, so, this is an age-old problem, isn't it? Puppies, they're so excitable, they don't really have that self-control. We don't yet have the degree of training in the puppy to say sit down or to go away and stay in a certain location for a period of time. Although, actually, at 6 months, we would be hoping to begin to get some feeling of that control there. You say in your question about we're trying not to overexcite her, but, this is often what's happening. When we play with a puppy, and you should be able to play with a puppy, that's what it's all about, but we can indeed overexcite the dog and then find that the dog is becoming very nippy and maybe coming in at us and being a bit hard-mouthed and scratching skin and what have you. One little thing is I often find that people will push a puppy away and say to the dog no, but in fact the puppy often thinks that we're playing. That act of pushing the dog away, you'll see then quite often the puppy come in faster and even harder, and we then, as the owners, become stressed and unsure as how to handle it. One other thing to bear in mind is that the escalation of a dog's behaviour, regardless of its age, I often categorise it as sort of steps 0 to 10, and 10 is excessive, and this is where we're struggling, and 0 is when the dog is calm and relaxed. So you'll need to begin to interpret your dog's behaviour and to think to yourself, is this behaviour the beginnings of overexcitability, especially when the dog comes up onto steps 2, 3 and 4, and we then find that the dog is becoming difficult to manage. So watch out for those steps, and as soon as you think, I know, because nobody knows your dog better than you, but as soon as you think, here we have the beginnings of a problem, stop the game there. So stop early rather than letting the dog to get too advanced in its behaviours and then finding you've got a bit of a problem on your hands. Just want to talk very briefly about the subject of exercise. I go to see many puppies and they are in fact under-exercised. Not always, so you'll need to filter what I'm saying through your knowledge of how much exercise your puppy is getting. But I am a great fan of putting a long training line on puppies, 30 to 50 feet long, and allowing them to scamper about. We're not doing any ball play or anything really structured, but we're just letting the dog to, in a natural way, to expend that energy. Because a dog which is under-exercised will inevitably be quite a handful in the home. So just think about the subject of exercise. Don't worry so much about how long or how often, but certainly daily, and you will know once your dog's had enough. It will either sit down or lie down or just sort of chew a twig or something, and you'll know that your dog's had enough. So that's something for you to bear in mind. On a more practical note, again, if you find that the dog is becoming excessive, what we want to avoid is any shouting or shoving the dog, because that ironically can create even more excitement. I would place an emphasis on spotting when the dog is beginning to go to that place of being overexcited and stop the game there, okay? And think about the type of games you're playing with your dog. There are a couple of approaches if the dog does become excessive and you then need to struggle or are struggling with the dog's behaviour. Either you can leave the room, but it's your home, so I actually favour removing the dog from the room. So if you have a utility room which is pretty boring, or something like a downstairs loo where it's safe and plain to leave the dog just for 1 minute, I hasten to add, that can be an effective approach as well. So it's a brief time out for 1 minute, then bring the dog out calmly, and then you can try to start again. And if the dog goes straight back into that unwanted behaviour, then you can do yet another time out, usually 2 or 3 of those, and the puppy will understand that the behaviour is not conducive to staying with you. Okay, so I hope that helps.